So I wanted to come on here and kind of talk about this whole physical media versus digital media, because a lot of people have been talking about that, and it's ironic that within this past week, if not the past few days, we've had a lot of people talking about, the future of physical media versus digital. I mean, on the John Campea show, they talked about the fact that there is a new kind of physical media being in the works, through natural means, if you will, like environmental means or something like that, where it's supposed to hold about basically 2 terabytes worth of data. And what that's the equivalent of, basically, since a regular Blu-ray is a 100 gigabyte, disc, and I think a 4K Blu-ray is, hold on, I think it's about a little bit more, a little bit more than 100. Let me see, right now it'll show me. It's a 45 gigabyte worth of space, for, let's say, a 1080p video, or a 4K. No, a 4K could take up to 45 gigabytes of space. Well, 1080 could take up about 23 gigabytes, if you will. I think, hold on. Let me double check this, make sure. But anyway, people were talking about it. Okay, it says a single layer Blu-ray disc can hold 25 gigabytes, while a dual layer can hold 50 gigabytes. Okay, so basically 25 to 50 gigabytes on a Blu-ray, with a single layer or dual layer. And let's go back here. Hold on. And the 4K capacity is 100 gigabytes. They can have 4K Blu-rays have bit rates for a 50 gigabyte version, and that's 82 Mbps, and everything, and 108 Mbps for the 66 gigabyte version, and 128 Mbps for 100 gigabyte versions. Basically, they're saying here 4K Blu-ray discs, also known as Ultra HD Blu-ray discs, have a capacity up to 100 gigabytes. The capacity depends on the number of layers the disc has, with dual layers having 66 gigabytes, triple layers having 100 gigabytes. So basically, like I said, Blu-rays, the ones we have like now, like for 4K, for example, if I can get one here, if I can find one. Well, I can't really find one. Hold on. Well, for a sec. Here we go. This here is the 4K Ultra Blu-ray release of Transformers the movie, for the 35th anniversary. I think it was the 35th anniversary. It's kind of hard to believe it's been that long. But yeah, it's the 35th anniversary, if you will, since, for this coming out. Hard to believe that's been that long. It's been 2021, I think, when that came out. That came out, I think, about 2022, 2022, I believe. Anyway, to get back on topic here. Basically, they're stating that something like this, depending on the layer, is 100 gigabytes. You got 100 gigabytes worth of data that data on this disk. I do apologize. It's 9:42 in the morning on this Friday while I'm recording this, so I'm still kind of waking up, if you will. I've been up for a few hours, still kind of waking up. But yeah, it's basically about 100 gigabytes worth of data that the disk on here can store. That's what they're alluding to with 4K UHD Blu-rays. But again, getting back to what I was saying, essentially with what John Campea was talking about, as I mentioned, is they can, and this was through various sources. You can look it up online. basically there is discussion, if not production, if not experimenting or experimentation, if you will, experimentation, on a lot of, I guess you could say, a lot of methods to try to keep physical media alive, and one of them is basically taking a Blu-ray of 100 gigabytes and evolving it, basically creating an evolution of it, I should say, of a 2 terabyte disc, which would mean 2 terabytes, according to what Campea said in the report, from reading off the report, because the report I think even says this, is you could hold up to 4 disc worth, basically 4K, easy for me to say, 4K Blu-rays on here, on one 2 terabyte disc, I should say. So you can have about potentially four Blu-rays, even 4K Blu-rays on a 2 terabyte disc. You can have that. If this technology goes forward and everything. The other thing too is when you look at DVD, you compare the capacity of DVD and regular Blu-ray, then you're looking at like 4K Blu-rays onto a 2 terabyte deal, one singular 2 terabyte disc. You could be looking at maybe, multiply that by 4, if you will, and you're looking at maybe 8, maybe 12, if you will, 8 to 12 regular Blu-rays on a 2 terabyte disc, and then multiply that again, and you could be looking at maybe 50 DVDs on a 2 terabyte disc. So obviously the support to keep physical media alive, is still very strong. I mean, even those in Hollywood, want to see physical media continue, its legacy, continue its run, because obviously the big question when it comes to all the digitalness and streaming is how well do you, it's like how do you know, and how well do you know whether or not you're going to keep access to that digital version? It's like, how do you know you're going to always have that version, and how well do you know the process when it comes to that, to, let's say, the length on, let's say, a streaming platform for said movies or shows? It's like, basically, do you know all the answers? Are you totally sure? Whether or not you're gonna have basically the digital version of this all the time? I mean, I have the digital version on Vudu and on Amazon Prime. I have it. I had to get them separately, but I have them. And the question is, how do you know those digital versions are still going to stick around? That's the question, because nowadays, you're hearing all these reports of studios basically removing certain movies from your digital libraries. Like Sony's doing this, Warner Brothers is doing this, Disney's doing that, so on's doing this, so on's doing that. How can you be totally sure that your movie, that you used a code that came in said movie, that you used on a platform like, say, Movies Anywhere, which is connected to almost every platform out there, with a few exceptions? How do you know that digital movie you got through that, or that digital version you used the digital code to get, is going to be there in the future? You don't. How do you know if a movie you put on your playlist on Netflix or Disney Plus or Max is going to be there, for as long as you want it to be there? You don't. And why? Because as we see with Netflix, and even Max, there are time restraints. There are time limitations, to a movie or a show being on that platform before it gets taken off and maybe sent somewhere else. There's a timing mechanism. Like, for example, My Little Pony the movie, if you will, the 2017 film, just recently left Netflix, and it had been on Netflix for not even about a year, and it's already gone from Netflix. The first 4 seasons of Friendship is Magic is on there still, but the other ones, they were gone because of some behind the scenes, situation where Discovery owned the other rights to them and stuff like that. Just crazy nonsense, if you will. But everybody assumed a majority of Friendship is Magic was going to remain on there, and it didn't. A lot of people assumed the 2017 movie was going to remain on there, and it didn't. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, you don't know when or where or how long a movie is going to remain on a platform, whether it's streaming or digital. And that is why a lot of people argue for the continuation of physical media. That's why you see a lot of people that have been more in favor of moving forward with digital media, and kind of leaving, physical media behind. You're now seeing them kind of backtrack a little bit because now they're realizing, okay, maybe there is a reason physical media is still around. Because even those in Hollywood that star in movies, direct and produce and write movies, some of the biggest ones out there, fight very hard for physical media to be, still a major staple, in entertainment for the consumer. Because they themselves are consumers. And they themselves don't know whether or not they're going to keep the digital version of, let's say, Oppenheimer on their platform, like Vudu or Prime Video or whatever. They don't know if they're going to be able to keep that on there for as long as they want it. They don't know how long Peacock is going to keep keep Oppenheimer on their service. They don't know. They don't know. You see, there's that question of, having you see, there's that question of, how do you know? How long is it going to be there? Can we trust, the service or the platform that allows us to do this to keep our movies streaming wise and digital wise on there for as long as we want? How can we, ensure ourselves that we won't have to, rebuy or repurchase the movie? How do we know that? We don't. And that's why, again, there's that strong argument to keep physical media alive. There's that strong argument. And I know some people are thinking to themselves, digital media is a lot different than streaming. Streaming is all about license and timing and then moving into another platform. Yeah, I understand that. But if you've been reading the news and listening to the news lately, some of that time restraint or, expiring of licenses, basically it affects, I'm just looking outside. I just thought I saw something. But it affects basically, even your digital purchases. It does. I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard the news, but but basically Sony, through the PlayStation stores, removed a lot of digital purchases that people had. A lot of digital purchases people had of stuff that, yes, they could find on Macs and everything, but they like to have the convenience of watching, whenever they want, if they don't have the Max app, on them at that time. Because, if they don't have the Max app on them at that time, they know, hey, I got this app that has the digital version I purchased, I can go to there. Some of those purchases disappeared, and now they got to go and refine them and repurchase them. They don't get a refund back. That is why, again, people are pushing for physical media to remain around, no matter how you feel about it. I mean, yes, we are in a generation where, kids nowadays and, adolescents nowadays will, feel more convenient with just finding it, on a digital platform like Vudu or Prime Video or Apple and being like, okay, it's right there, boom, I can enjoy it. La 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 la, that's it. Or when it comes to a game, they like the convenience. Of getting a controller like this, turning on the system and getting to the digital library and getting the digital game there. They like that convenience because they don't have to get up, put the disc in, and then have to sit back down. They just want to play it right then and there. And yeah, there are services that allow you to do that. Don't get me wrong. There are services, but again, how long are you going to be able to keep that service financially? Like, let's say, because you got other bills and stuff to take care of. You gotta really think about all of that. You gotta really think about all that. And that is why, again, a push is very heavy to keep physical media around. That is why Best Buy has gotten a lot of backlash. That's why places like Walmart are getting backlash, and others that are basically trying to abandon certain elements of physical media, but now slowly, very slowly, are kind of retracting those decisions and being like, okay, maybe we basically jumped the gun here. Maybe we should, bring physical media back, not fully, but in a limited way to see if it's still profitable. You're kind of seeing, like I said, a lot of those stores, in person and online, retracting, those decisions and bringing physical media back, very slowly, because they're realizing, oh, there is still a market for it. There's still a market for it and everything, and it just shows you that maybe, no matter who you are, from a retail standpoint or whatever, consumer standpoint or whatever, maybe you shouldn't, be, hyped up and supportive and jumping the gun, for, digital media to be, to be the be all end all, because again, it's not. And you also got to remember this too. Your digital media is attached to the internet. Yeah, it's attached to the internet. Whether it's your phone, through whatever service you use, whether it's through your Xfinity, your AT&T, whatever. It is still connected to the internet. And what if the internet goes out? Yeah, you have places like Xfinity saying, oh, well, you got, storm-ready Wi-Fi, just in case things go out, you'll still have the Wi-Fi. That's great and everything, that's fine. But, what about those that don't have that privilege? I'm just saying, what happens if you're on the road or you're on the plane and you want to watch a movie or you want to listen to some music? All of a sudden your phone service conks out or the Wi-Fi on the plane doesn't work. I'm just saying. Have you ever thought maybe, maybe digital media isn't the big, savior of multimedia entertainment we thought it would be? I mean, yes, it's convenient, it's easy to access and all that. I get it. We all do. But again, this is why people argue about physical media still being profitable and still being something people have to rely on and should rely on. And one of the things about what MetalJesusRocks did today in his video is he had a number of, I guess you could say colleagues across YouTube that talk about gaming on their channel, giving their thoughts about physical media versus digital. And they were all 50-50, but a majority of them, in that 50-50, actually I should put it this way, it wasn't 50-50, but, and a majority of them being in favor of digital, it was more like, I would say 60, it was more like 70-30, like 70-30 basically, and that 70% was in favor of physical media sticking around, but they also understood that, yeah, digital media is a direction we're heading in the near future, but not for a long time. They understood that. But again, you had that 30%, even those that, were fully behind, physical media being, still a thing that needs to be used and needs to be depended on. You had them, like I said, you had them basically saying, yeah, digital media is the direction we're heading in, but not for a while. Well, the other 30% was in favor of digital media, saying, yeah, it's more convenient, it's more easy. We don't have to, basically stockpile, and build up and just create these walls of physical media that takes up everything. It's like, that 30% find it convenient to have digital, and that's great. That's great, and they do have a point there, but the thing is, again, the argument is the main connectivity is the internet or your phone service. What happens if you lose, access to that, in some shape or form? What do? I'm just saying, you need to have the physical version on you just in case you end up losing that, that main, outlet for your digital, purchases, whether it's video games or movies. Same with music. I got Spotify, on my phone. I got Amazon Music on my phone. What happens, if you don't have no internet or no service and you're on the road? You better make sure you have something like Pi Music Player with a lot of MP3s on there, or a lot of downloads on there, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to listen to anything music-wise on your trip. You kind of get what I'm saying? Get what I'm saying? I mean, look, I know that physical media, its leash is getting shorter and shorter by the years and by the decades. But when I see things like what John Campea talked about, being something that is in development possibly, maybe currently is, a 2 terabyte, physical media disc, that, when I hear him talk about that, I know, honestly, that to me is a huge sign that the push to keep physical media alive is still strong, and the support for it is strong, and that physical media is going to stick around for a lot longer. It is. Because even though there is a convenience for digital, versions and everything, it doesn't mean digital, versions of the media you consume is always going to be a winning strategy. It's not. Because you might have to rely back on what brought you to the dance, and that's physical media. So, again, I understand both sides of the spectrum. I really do. But at the end of the day, I think we have to realize that physical media, is going to stick around for quite some time. In fact, one of the girls that was on the Metal Jesus video, she said that, she feels we're going to go to digital media, but not in this lifetime. In our lifetime, she's basically stating we're going to still be both digital and physical. And when we're gone, that's when digital, in her mind, will completely take over. So again, I get where people are coming from. I understand that. I know and enjoy the convenience of digital stuff too myself. I'm not denying that. But I also understand the importance of physical media. Because, here's the other thing too. There are certain movies and shows and albums and games that are not on digital media yet. They're not. The only way they end up on digital media is if somebody puts it on there via YouTube or a site like YouTube. That's the only way. I mean, The Invisible Kid, which is a movie I've talked up a lot about, throughout the history of my YouTube channel. The Invisible Kid, is not on any of the major streaming platforms. It's not on any of the major digital platforms. But it is on YouTube because somebody put it on YouTube. Somebody put it on YouTube. That's what they did. Somebody took the movie, ripped it onto the computer, and uploaded it to YouTube. That's what they did. Same with me. As I've talked about before, I took the final 4 episodes of Season 2 of Sonic the Hedgehog Saturday Morning, 1993 to 1995, which I refer to as the Doomsday Project, saga, the Doomsday Project saga. And I edited them together carefully to where the only title screen, or only title card you see is the Doomsday Project one, and everything just flows into each other like a regular movie. Because that's what it feels like when you piece them together. And guess what? There's no other digital platform out there. No other digital platform out there that has done that. Not Paramount, not Netflix, not Disney, nobody. Not even YouTube through the Sonic the Hedgehog Wild Brain official YouTube channels have done that. Only me. Only me. And guess what? People appreciate that. People appreciate that. But you get what I'm saying, right? Not everything, that you think you would think and should by now have a, physical, not a physical, but a digital media release is going to get that. And that's where physical media still comes in, because you can get movies, rarities of movies, if you will, that you can't get anywhere else. And that's a fact. That is a fact. But again, I understand the convenience. I do. One thing my mom likes to do when she's, and she's a believer of both too, but she's more of a supporter of physical media, like me. We're kind of, cut from the same cloth. Of course, she being my mom, what do you expect? But anyway, she understands that too, because one of the things she does when she lays down on the couch or goes to bed, lays down on the bed and gets ready to fall asleep, or she's eating dinner, what is one of the things she do? What is one of the things she does? She basically turns on Netflix and turns on one day at a time. That's what she does. And she does that because it's convenient for her. She does. When she's watching Golden Girls on Hallmark, I gave her the entire series of Golden Girls. But and even though she could watch it anytime she wants, she'd rather watch it when it comes on Hallmark or the Women or We Network, the Women Entertainment Network. That's when she'd rather watch it because it's more convenient. So she understands both ways, but like me, supports physical media more so than digital because she sees the benefit of that, especially when you lose power or your cable or whatever goes out. Well, not lose power, but let's say your cable or your internet goes out for whatever reasons. She understands that physical media is there, to save the day, and she appreciates that and respects that, just like me and anybody else does. But I just wanted to come on here in response to Metal Jesus Rocks' video, and what John Campea had to say in his recent video, which was a clip from his podcast the other day. Just wanted to come on here, give you my thoughts on it. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment down below. And Metal Jesus, if you are watching this, I commented on your Twitter page. You might want to look into your video that you uploaded today on physical media versus digital media, because for some reason, after Macho Nacho Productions talks, it kind of gets stuck. So you might want to check into that. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Comment down below. Like, chat during the premiere if you're watching on YouTube. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. And until then, I am out. Take care. God bless.